Hi everyone, Rick Russell here. Stand by for channel markers. Last episode we discussed general purpose warships. They're the heart of the U.S. Navy's combat capability and the best overall buy. But the Navy needs a balanced fleet, so today we're going to look at special purpose warships. One or two of our choices might be surprising, so bear with me. A special purpose warship has a single job to do. Minesweepers, seaplane tenders, repair ships are all obvious examples. They operate under the protection of general purpose warships or are held in reserve to support them, but aren't the tip of the spear by any means. But special purpose warships are often designed for a specific enemy, for a specific area of operation, and when the combat capabilities needed have already been identified. For that reason, they've often been built after war has started. The classic examples are the USS Monitor during the Civil War and the destroyer escorts of World War II. So what about the Monitor? President Lincoln and Secretary of the Navy Gideon Welles were aware of the Confederates' effort to build an ironclad vessel on the hull of the U.S. steam frigate Merrimac, which had been burned by Union forces when evacuating Gosport, now Norfolk, in April 1861. So they moved quickly to counter the threat. They allocated a lot of money and created a special bureau just for ironclads. This ironclad needed to be able to operate in coastal waters, in this case in southern Virginia, where the Navy was supporting the Union Army and had established a blockade. Amazingly, particularly compared to today, a revolutionary ironclad vessel was delivered in only 100 days. Both ironclads, the Virginia, ex-Merrimac, and Monitor, were commissioned in February 1862. Unfortunately, a variety of problems delayed Monitor's departure from the Brooklyn Navy Yard for Hampton Roads. Meanwhile, Virginia debuted on 8 March 1862, and in short order, she sank USS Cumberland, ran USS Congress aground, and eventually caught fire and exploded, and ran USS Minnesota aground. Virginia withdrew and decided to return the next day to finish off Minnesota. Meanwhile, Monitor arrived and pulled up alongside Minnesota during the night. The next day, after Virginia got underway, sailors reported what looked like a cheese box on a raft blocking their way. In the first battle of ironclads, the two ships fought to a standstill, but Minnesota and the Union's Chesapeake Squadron were saved. The Monitor had accomplished the mission. She had regained local sea control, allowing the Chesapeake Squadron to continue to support the Army ashore. She also dashed wild ideas on both sides of the Mason-Dixon line about Virginia breaking blockades and attacking northern cities, even New York. But after the battle, in fact, Virginia went upriver and was eventually scuttled, with her guns removed for use in fortifications, including at Drury's Bluff, which we'll talk about shortly. How did the Union Navy react? Well, that was an exciting victory. More Monitors were designed. The question was, what else can this expensive ship do? Unfortunately, the answer was not much. When sent upriver, she was heavily damaged at Drury's Bluff by plunging fire. Her own guns could not elevate sufficiently, and she needed to be towed away back to the Washington Navy Yard for repairs. After being repaired, she was on her way to join the attack on Fort Sumter in South Carolina when, off Cape Hatteras, she was swamped and sank in a storm, losing 75% of her crew. The bottom line, special purpose warships don't operate well outside of their intended purpose. So what about the destroyer escorts? The Roosevelt administration said the Allies needed hundreds of anti-submarine warfare ships that could be built faster and cheaper than a traditional destroyer for use in escorting convoys. But the Navy had a destroyer design it liked a lot, the Fletcher class, and planned to build a lot of them. The Navy knew a general-purpose destroyer was the better long-term buy and dragged its feet. FDR thought GP stood for gold-plated, not general purpose, and pushed for the destroyer escort. With the Germans savaging shipping day and night off the East Coast in 1942, the push to build destroyer escort types finally succeeded. A variety of inexpensive ships, such as destroyer escorts and patrol frigates, as well as subchasers, numbering in the hundreds, were built, with many transferred under Lend-Lease to the British and Soviet navies, among others. Parts and sections of them were prefabricated in such unlikely places as Pueblo, Colorado, then moved by water and rail to shipyards for final assembly. As the Navy expected, most of the destroyer escort types disappeared after the war, but USS Slater is kept in immaculate condition in Albany, New York, if you ever have a chance to visit. Finally, what about the Navy's ballistic missile submarines? They're special purpose warships too, because they have only one job: provide nuclear deterrence through the prospect of delivering a devastating nuclear strike to the Eurasian heartland. So that covers special purpose warships. In the future, we'll look at warships that change from special purpose to general purpose and vice versa. That's all for this channel marker. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment or recommend another subject below. As always, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.